Part 1. The Silence Captain. Day 1 stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge, staring at the blue planet that filled the main view screen. Earth, the forbidden world, the dead world, except it did not look dead at all. 300 years had passed since Earth went silent. The Galactic Council had declared humanity extinct, after all communication from the Sol system stopped completely. Ships sent to investigate never returned. Probes vanished without sending back a single message. Eventually, the Council placed a quarantine around the entire system and forbade anyone from entering. Earth became a ghost story that parents told their children, a warning about what happens to young civilizations that destroy themselves. Day 1 had never believed in ghost stories. He was Velkari, a species that valued logic and evidence above all else. When the Council asked him to lead this expedition, he accepted because he wanted answers, not myths. But now looking at Earth, he felt something he rarely experienced. Doubt. "Captain, I'm detecting organized satellite patterns in orbit," reported the sensor officer. Her voice carried a tremor of confusion. "And there are energy signatures on the surface. Multiple cities. They're active." Dr. Hana moved closer to the view screen, her human eyes wide with wonder and disbelief. She was one of the last descendants of the Mars colony, the small group of humans who had escaped before Earth's silence began. Her ancestors had lived their entire lives wondering what happened to their homeworld. Now she might finally learn the truth. "How many life signs?" she asked quietly. The sensor officer checked her instruments twice before answering. "Billions. The planet is heavily populated." Ambassador Tae Min, the Velkari Council representative, made a harsh clicking sound with his mandibles. "Impossible. Our records show Earth should be a wasteland. Nuclear war. Environmental collapse. That was the assessment." "Then the assessment was wrong," Hana said. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook slightly. She had spent 10 years convincing the Council to authorize this mission. She had argued that understanding humanity's fall would help prevent other civilizations from making the same mistakes. She had prepared herself to find ruins and radiation. She had not prepared herself to find life. Day 1 made his decision. "Send a standard first contact greeting. All frequencies. Let them know we come in peace." The communications officer worked her console, then frowned. "Captain, someone is already hailing us." "The signal is strong and clear. They're using perfect galactic standard. Put it through." A woman's voice filled the bridge. It was calm and professional, without any hint of surprise or fear. "Unknown vessel, this is Earth Defense Command. You have entered restricted space without authorization. State your identity and purpose immediately, or you will be escorted out of the system." The bridge fell silent. Everyone stared at each other in shock. Earth Defense Command. The words implied organization, military structure, technology. These were not the desperate survivors of a dying world. These were people who had been expecting visitors. Hana stepped forward. "This is Dr. Hana of the Galactic Council Expedition Horizon's Edge. I am human. My ancestors left Mars 300 years ago. We thought Earth was gone." There was a pause. Then the voice returned, slightly softer. "Dr. Hana, we have records of the Mars colony. Welcome home. Please stand by for landing coordinates. Director Jiwan will meet with you personally." Taemin moved beside Day 1. "Captain, I advise extreme caution. We do not know what we are dealing with here. This could be a trap." "A trap that has waited 300 years?" Day 1 replied. "No, they're hiding something, but I do not think they mean us harm. If they did, we would already be dead." The landing coordinates guided them to a facility on the eastern continent, in a region the old records called Korea. As the horizon's edge descended through the atmosphere, Hana pressed her face against the observation window. She saw green forests, clean oceans, and gleaming cities that stretched to the horizon. This was not a dead world. This was a world that had healed. The landing pad was surrounded by soldiers in advanced armor that looked nothing like Council technology. They carried weapons that Day 1 did not recognize. Their stance was professional and alert. These were people who knew how to fight. A woman approached as the boarding ramp extended. She wore a black uniform with silver markings that suggested high rank. Her face was serious, and her dark eyes studied each crew member carefully as they descended. "I am Director Jiwan of Earth Defense Command," she said. "On behalf of humanity, I welcome you to Earth. But I must ask that you limit your crew to 10 people for this initial meeting." "Security protocols," Day 1 nodded. "Understood." I will bring my senior officers and Dr. Hana. Jiwan's expression softened slightly when she looked at Hana. It must be strange for you, coming back to a world you never knew. I have so many questions, Hana said. And you will have answers, Jiwan replied. But first you need to understand why Earth went silent. You need to understand what we have been hiding from for 300 years. They were led into a facility that was clean and modern. The walls displayed star maps and technical readouts that Daewon could not fully interpret. Everything spoke of a civilization that had not fallen, but had instead grown stronger in isolation. Jiwan brought them to a secure conference room. A man was already waiting there, older than Jiwan, with kind eyes and gray hair. This is Dr. Sung-ho, our chief historian and scientist. He will explain what happened. Sung-ho gestured for them to sit. 300 years ago, Earth's astronomers detected something in deep space. It was not a natural phenomenon. It was an intelligence, something vast and ancient that moved between star systems. We watched it for months, trying to understand what it was. He activated a holographic display. It showed a region of space where stars seemed to dim and disappear. We called it the listener because of how it hunted. It tracked electromagnetic transmissions, radio waves, communication signals. Any civilization that transmitted into space was eventually found and consumed. We watched it destroy 3 different species before we understood the pattern. Hana felt cold. The Threxian Empire, the Polis Collective, the Komari. Yes, Sung-ho said quietly. We tried to warn the galaxy. We sent messages to every species we could reach. But we were considered primitive, young, paranoid. No one believed us. Taemin stood abruptly. The council records say those civilizations fell to civil war and natural disasters. Because that is what it looked like, Jiwan said. The listener is subtle. It does not announce itself. It simply arrives and feeds. Daewon felt his blood run cold. So Earth went silent to hide. We implemented the quiet protocol, Sung-ho explained. Every transmitter was dismantled. Every satellite was brought down. We cut ourselves off from the galaxy completely. It was the only way to survive. For 300 years, Hana whispered. You have been hiding in the dark. Yes, Jiwan said. And now we are about to break that silence. Because the listener has returned, and this time it is heading directly for the galactic core where all of you live. Earth's silence is over. The galaxy needs to know what is coming. The room fell silent. Outside, Daewon could hear the distant sounds of Earth continuing its daily rhythms, unaware that their long isolation was about to end. He looked at Hana and saw tears streaming down her face. She had come looking for the ruins of her past. Instead, she had found a future that terrified her. How long do we have? Daewon asked. Jiwan met his gaze steadily. 6 months. Maybe less. And your council is not ready for what is coming. Part 2. The first contact, the conference room felt smaller with each passing hour. Daewon had listened to Dr. Sung-ho explain the history of the listener 3 times now, and each time it sounded more impossible. Yet the evidence was overwhelming. Star charts showing civilizations that simply stopped existing, gravitational data that suggested something massive moving through space, and most damning of all, Earth's survival through 3 centuries of absolute silence. I need to contact the council immediately, Ambassador Taemin said. His voice was tight with barely controlled panic. They must be warned. Jiwan shook her head. Not yet. If you broadcast a message now, the listener might detect it. We need to be careful about how we break the news. You expect the entire Galactic Council to go silent like Earth did? Taemin's laugh was bitter. Impossible. We have 12 species across hundreds of worlds. Communication is the foundation of our civilization. Then your civilization will be consumed, Jiwan said flatly, unless you learn to fight back. Hana had been quiet since the initial briefing. Now she spoke up, her voice hoarse. You said Earth has been watching the galaxy. What else have you seen? Sung-ho exchanged a glance with Jiwan, then nodded. Everything. We see everything you do. We track your ships, monitor your communications, observe your politics. We had to. If the listener returned, we needed to know where it would strike first. That sounds like spying, Taemin said coldly. It is survival, Jiwan replied, and it is why we know the Council is not prepared. Your military vessels are designed for conflicts with other species. Your shields prioritize stopping energy weapons. Your sensors look for conventional threats. The listener is none of those things. Daewon leaned forward. You speak as if you know how to fight it. For the first time since they arrived, Jiwan smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. We have spent 300 years preparing for this war. Every generation of humans has been raised knowing that one day, the listener would return. We do know how to fight it. The question is whether the Council will accept help from a species they declared extinct. A younger man entered the room. He wore a simple uniform without rank markings, but something about the way Jiwan and Sung-ho acknowledged him suggested he held significant authority. Director, the Council ship crew is requesting permission to explore the facility. Denied, Jiwan said. Not until they understand what is at stake. The man nodded and left without another word. Hana watched him go with narrowed eyes. Who is that? Young, he is with intelligence, Jiwan said dismissively. He ensures our security is maintained. Over the next 2 days, Daewon and his senior officers were given limited tours of the facility. What they saw changed everything they thought they knew about humanity. The technology was not just advanced. It was revolutionary. Every system was designed to operate without producing detectable emissions. Power generation that left no thermal signature. Engines that produced no radiation. Communication systems that used quantum entanglement instead of radio waves. This is decades ahead of Council technology, Daewon admitted to Hana as they walked through a research laboratory. Maybe centuries. They had to innovate or die, Hana replied. We had the luxury of sharing knowledge with other species. They had only themselves. A scientist named Jay was demonstrating a cloaking field when alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. Jiwan appeared within seconds, moving with the urgency of a military commander. We have a situation. Follow me. They were brought to a command center that overlooked a massive holographic display of the solar system. Young was already there, studying the data with intense focus. Long-range sensors detected a spatial distortion at the edge of the Kuiper belt. It matches the listener's signature. Daewon felt his heart skip a beat. It is here already? No, Sung-ho said, studying the readings. This is old data. The distortion passed through the outer system about 150 years ago. Our sensors just now picked up the gravitational echo. The listener passed by Earth, Hana whispered, and it did not find you. Because we were silent, Jiwan said. But it did not leave the galaxy. Our projections show it moved toward the galactic core, toward Council space. Taemin stared at the display in horror. That was 150 years ago. It could have destroyed dozens of worlds by now. It has, Young said quietly. He brought up a new chart showing Council territory. We have been tracking unexplained disappearances and communication losses. 17 colonies have gone dark in the past century. The Council attributed it to equipment failure or local conflicts. But look at the pattern. The lost colonies formed a line through space, each one falling silent after reporting unusual sensor readings. The pattern pointed directly toward the densest cluster of Council worlds. Daewon felt sick. We thought we were alone in the galaxy except for each other. We thought the greatest threats were political disputes and resource competition. We have been blind. Not blind, Sung-ho corrected gently. Young. Your species are still young compared to the listener. You have not yet learned to look for threats that come from beyond your understanding. Hana moved closer to the display, studying the trajectory. Where is it now? Young manipulated the controls and a red marker appeared on the map. Based on current data, approximately 6 months from the primary Council worlds. It is accelerating. Something has attracted its attention. The density of transmissions, Daewon realized. The core worlds broadcast constantly, billions of signals every second. Like ringing a dinner bell, Jiwan said, which is why Earth is breaking 300 years of silence. We cannot hide anymore while the rest of the galaxy walks toward extinction. Taemin had been silent, absorbing everything. Now he spoke, and his voice carried a weight that surprised Daewon. The Council will not believe this. They will think it is a human trick, a play for power after centuries of isolation. Then people will die, Jiwan said simply. But we will try anyway, because that is what humans do. We try even when the odds are impossible. Young approached Hana. Dr. Hana, you are in a unique position. You are human by blood but Council by culture. You could be the bridge we need. Hana looked at him sharply. You have been planning this. This meeting. This revelation. You knew the Council would send a human descendant if they sent anyone at all. Young did not deny it. We have been watching and waiting for 300 years. Yes, we prepared for this moment. We prepared for every possible outcome. Except one, Day-Wan said. You did not prepare for the council to refuse your help. Ji-Wan met his gaze. Then we will fight the listener alone as we always planned. But we will give the council the choice first. That is more than they gave us when we warned them 300 years ago. The weight of that statement settled over the room. Hana felt torn between two worlds. The council had raised her, educated her, given her a place in the galaxy. But Earth was her blood, her ancestry, the cradle of humanity that had survived through silence and preparation. What do you need from us? She asked finally. Sung-Ho activated another display. We need the council to listen. Really listen. We will share our data, our technology, our strategies. But first, they must accept that everything they believe about the galaxy is wrong. They must accept that humanity did not fail. We survived. Day-Wan looked at his crew. He saw fear, confusion, and doubt. But he also saw something else. Determination. They had come to Earth expecting to find ruins. Instead, they found hope. Dangerous, terrifying hope that depended on species who barely trusted each other learning to work together. I will carry your message to the council, he said, but I cannot guarantee they will listen. We know, Ji-Wan said, but at least we will have tried. And when the listener comes, we will be ready, with or without the council's help. Young approached the captain and handed him a small device. This contains all our data on the listener. Sensor readings, attack patterns, theoretical weaknesses. Everything we know. Take it to the council. Make them understand. As Day-Wan took the device, he felt the weight of worlds in his hand. The knowledge contained within could save billions of lives or spark panic that would destroy the council from within. He looked at Hana and saw the same understanding in her eyes. Earth had spoken after 300 years of silence. Now the galaxy would have to decide whether to listen. Part 4. The Awakening Premiere. Sujin stood before the assembled representatives of Earth's unified government. The chamber was circular, designed so that no seat held more prominence than any other. Every continent, every major population center had a voice here. For 300 years, these representatives had maintained the quiet protocol. Now she was about to ask them to break it. The vote is complete, she announced. By a majority of 73%, Earth will end the silence. We will warn the galaxy about the listener and offer our assistance. History will remember this day as either our salvation or our doom. In the back of the chamber, Young listened carefully to the murmurs of conversation. He had spent his entire career in intelligence, watching the galaxy from Earth's hidden position. He knew every major political figure in the council, their ambitions, their fears, their weaknesses. This would not be easy. Commander Bora approached the Premier after the session ended. She led Earth's first contact diplomatic corps, a department that had trained for generations for a mission they were never sure would come. Premier, my team is ready. We have prepared responses for every likely council reaction. But I must be honest, we are walking into chaos. I know, Sujin replied. But staying silent is no longer an option. The listener will reach the core worlds in less than 6 months. If we do nothing, billions will die. On the horizon's edge, Captain Day-Wan was preparing his crew for what was coming. Ambassador Taemin had locked himself in his quarters, working on his report to the council. Hana stood on the observation deck, watching Earth rotate slowly below. In 72 hours, her ancestral home would announce its existence to the galaxy. Nothing would ever be the same. Are you ready? Minho asked, joining her at the window. He had requested transfer to the horizon's edge to act as a liaison between Earth and the council ship. No, Hana admitted. I don't think anyone can be ready for this. The countdown began. Earth's communication centers, dormant for 3 centuries, came back online one by one. Engineers performed final checks on equipment that would broadcast to every inhabited system simultaneously. This would not be a quiet announcement. This would be impossible to ignore. A young woman named Nari sat at the primary transmission console. She was 23 years old and had trained her entire life for this moment. Her voice would be the first sound from Earth that the galaxy heard in 300 years. The weight of that responsibility made her hands shake. 60 seconds, the control room supervisor announced. Nari took a deep breath. Behind her, Commander Bora stood ready with the prepared message. They had written and rewritten it 100 times, trying to find words that would convey urgency without causing panic, truth without creating chaos, warning without sparking war. 30 seconds. Premier Sujin watched from the government headquarters. Around the world, billions of humans paused in their daily lives to witness this moment. Children who had grown up learning about the quiet protocol in school. Parents who remembered the stories their grandparents told about the time before silence. Everyone understood that their world was about to change forever. 10 seconds. Nari's finger hovered over the transmission button. She thought about the listener out there in the dark, hunting by sound. She thought about the civilizations it had already consumed. She thought about the fleet hidden in Earth's shadow, ready to fight. Then she pressed the button. This is Earth calling the Galactic Council and all civilized worlds. This is Earth calling. We are alive. We are many. And we have a warning. The message broadcast across every frequency simultaneously. Communication arrays on Council worlds lit up with incoming data. Ships in deep space received the transmission and immediately began relaying it to their home systems. Within minutes, every major civilization in the galaxy knew that Earth had returned from the dead. Commander Bora's carefully prepared speech explained everything. The detection of the listener 300 years ago. The decision to go silent. The long years of observation and preparation. The approaching threat. The offer of alliance and shared technology. It was measured, professional, and absolutely terrifying. In the council chambers on the planet Velkar Prime, pandemonium erupted. 12 species representatives shouted over each other, demanding explanations, accusing Earth of deception, calling for military action. The Velkari defense minister slammed his appendages on his desk, creating a sound that cut through the chaos. Order! We will have order! He glared around the chamber. Captain Daewon's ship is returning as we speak. We will hear his full report before making any decisions. But across council space, fear was already spreading. News networks broadcast the Earth message repeatedly. Scientists analyzed the data Earth had shared about the listener. Military commanders looked at their defensive capabilities and realized how unprepared they were. And politicians began calculating how this changed the balance of galactic power. On the horizon's edge, Timon finally emerged from his quarters. He looked like he had not slept in days. Captain, I have completed my report. The Council must take Earth's warning seriously. Daewon studied his superior officer with surprise. You believe them now? I saw their fleet. I reviewed their data. I watched the footage of them destroying a fragment of the listener. Taemin's voice was strained. They are telling the truth, which means we have been fools for 300 years. We ignored their warning. We declared them dead rather than investigating. And now we are paying the price. When the Horizon's Edge docked at Council headquarters, they found the station in chaos. Ships from all 12 member species had rushed to the capital. News crews pushed against security barriers. Protesters held signs both supporting and condemning Earth's return. The galaxy had fractured in a matter of hours. Hana walked through the crowds with Minho at her side. She heard people shouting about human conspiracies, about fake threats designed to gain power, about how Earth should be quarantined again for breaking the silence. But she also heard voices calling for cooperation, for unity, for taking the threat seriously. The council convened an emergency session. Captain Daewon and Ambassador Taemin were called to testify. For 6 hours, they presented everything they had learned. The data, the fleet, the weapons, the strategy. Hana spoke about standing on Earth and feeling the weight of 300 years of preparation. Minho explained the technology in terms the council's scientists could understand. When they finished, the chamber fell silent. Then the arguments began. The Velkari representative spoke first. How do we know this is not a human trick? They appear with advanced technology and impossible claims, demanding we change everything about our civilization. This could be an invasion disguised as rescue. An invasion that involves warning us about a threat and offering to share their technology? Dr. Sung-ho had been granted permission to address the council via transmission from Earth. We could have remained hidden. We could have let the listener consume you while we stayed safe in our silence. We chose to help. The Thenari science minister studied the data carefully. The gravitational distortions are real. The pattern of lost colonies matches the projection. But your claim that this listener can track our transmissions from across the galaxy seems impossible. It seemed impossible to us, too, Sung-ho replied, until we watched it happen 3 times. We are not asking you to believe us. We are asking you to verify the data and prepare for what is coming. 4 species representatives indicated their willingness to work with Earth. The Teral, who had lost 2 colonies to unexplained disasters, saw patterns in their own history. The Mishani, a cautious species that valued preparation above pride. The Koran who had actually received Earth's original warning 300 years ago and never forgot. And, surprisingly, a faction of Velkari military officers who respected Earth's strategic thinking. But 8 species remained skeptical or actively hostile. The arguments continued for days. Earth's transmission had split the Council down the middle. Some saw humanity as saviors, others saw them as manipulators. And while they argued, the listener drew closer. Young watched all of this from Earth with growing frustration. They are wasting time. Every day they debate is a day we could be implementing defenses. Premier Sujin understood his anger but remained calm. We knew this would happen. Change is always resisted. Fear creates suspicion. We gave them the truth. Now we wait to see if wisdom overcomes pride. On the 5th day of debate, something changed. A council colony at the edge of explored space went silent. No warning, no distress call. One moment they were transmitting normally. The next moment, nothing. When rescue ships arrived 3 days later, they found a dead world. 10 million people gone. No signs of violence. No obvious cause. Just silence. The Council's own sensors detected the gravitational distortion leaving the system. The same signature that Earth had warned about. The same pattern that had repeated across 300 years of observations. The listener had claimed its first Council world. And suddenly Earth's warning did not seem so impossible anymore. In the Council chamber, the vote was called. By a narrow margin, they agreed to coordinate with Earth, not full alliance, not complete trust, but cooperation, a chance. Part 3. The Arsenal. The transport shuttle climbed away from Earth's surface, carrying Daiwan, Hana, and 3 Council officers toward coordinates that Director Jiwan had provided. Ambassador Tai Min had refused to come, choosing instead to remain at the facility to prepare his report for the Council. Daiwan suspected the real reason was fear. What they were about to see would change everything. We are approaching the designated location, the pilot announced. But sensors show nothing here except empty space. Keep going, Hana said, checking the coordinates again. Earth wouldn't bring us out here for nothing. The shuttle continued forward, and then reality seemed to shimmer. One moment they were looking at empty black space. The next moment they were surrounded by ships. Hundreds of them, thousands. A fleet so vast it stretched beyond the limits of their sensors, all of it hidden behind some kind of cloaking technology that made Council stealth systems look primitive. By the stars, Daewon breathed. How long has this been here? A new voice came through the communications system. This is Fleet Admiral Kyung-suk of the Earth Defense Force. Welcome to the Hidden Fleet. We have been here for 273 years. The shuttle was guided to the largest ship, a massive carrier that dwarfed anything in the Council's navy. As they docked, Daewon tried to count the vessels around them and gave up. This was not just a fleet. This was an armada prepared for a war that the rest of the galaxy did not even know was coming. Admiral Kyung-suk met them in the landing bay. She was older than Jiwon, perhaps in her 60s, with silver hair cut short and eyes that held the weight of decades spent in command. Unlike the ground forces, her uniform was deep blue with golden markings that suggested her rank was equivalent to the highest military positions in the Council. Captain Daewon, she said, offering a human greeting gesture. Dr. Hana, thank you for coming. I understand this must be overwhelming. That is an understatement, Daewon replied. How have you kept this hidden? The energy signatures alone should be detectable across the solar system. Kyung-suk smiled. Let me show you. They were taken through the ship to an observation deck that offered a panoramic view of the fleet. A younger woman was waiting there, wearing a technician's uniform and surrounded by holographic displays showing equations that Daewon did not understand. This is Engineer J, Kyung-suk introduced. She leads our weapons and stealth development program. Jay, please explain to our guests how we remain invisible. Jay looked up from her work and grinned. Oh, this is going to be fun. Okay, so the Council's stealth technology works by bending light and absorbing radar, right? That's effective against conventional sensors, but it still produces heat signatures and gravitational distortions. We took a different approach. She manipulated the holographic display showing a ship surrounded by what looked like a bubble. We don't try to hide our presence. We convince the universe that we are not here at all. Quantum probability fields that shift our ship slightly out of phase with normal spacetime. From outside, the probability of detecting us approaches 0. From inside, everything functions normally. That should be impossible, one of the council officers said. The energy requirements alone would be astronomical. It would be, Jay agreed cheerfully, if we use conventional power generation. But we don't. We use zero-point energy extraction, pulling power directly from the quantum vacuum. Completely clean, no emissions, functionally unlimited. It took us 100 years to figure it out, but we had nothing else to do except innovate. Daewon felt his understanding of physics crumbling. The council has been researching zero-point energy for centuries. Our best scientists say it is theoretical at best. Your best scientists had too many other projects, Jay said. We had one goal: survive the listener. That kind of focus produces results. Hana moved to the window, looking out at the fleet. These ships, they are all designed to fight the listener? Admiral Kyung-suk nodded. Every vessel in this fleet was built for one purpose. Most of them have never seen combat. But every captain, every crew member has trained their entire life for the moment when the listener returns. Show us, Daewon said. Show us how you plan to fight something that has destroyed entire civilizations. They were taken to a combat simulation room where holographic displays recreated previous encounters with the listener based on Earth's observations. Jay enthusiastically explained each weapon system. Standard council weapons fire energy or projectiles, right? Lasers, plasma cannons, kinetic missiles. Those don't work against the listener because it exists partially outside normal space. Our weapons are different. She activated a display showing a strange device that looked nothing like conventional weapons. This is a dimensional disruptor. It creates localized tiers in space-time that collapse the boundary between dimensions. When the listener phases through normal space, these weapons force it to become solid. Then we can hurt it. How do you know they work? Daewon asked. We tested them, a new voice said. A young man in a pilot's uniform approached, nodding respectfully to Hana. I'm Minho. I'm your cousin, actually. My great-grandmother was your great-great-aunt from the Mars colony. Hana stared at him. I have family here. Lots of family, Minho said with a warm smile. All of us from the Mars line stayed in touch over the centuries. We always hoped someone would come back one day. He turned to Daewon. 3 months ago, we detected a small fragment of the listener passing through the outer system. Just a piece it had left behind, probably centuries old. We used it to test our weapons, and, Daewon prompted. We destroyed it, Minho said simply. Took 7 minutes of concentrated fire, but it worked. We know how to kill these things now. Admiral Kyung-suk brought up a tactical display. The listener is not indestructible. It is powerful, ancient, and dangerous, but it can be fought. The key is understanding how it hunts. It tracks electromagnetic transmissions across vast distances. Once it locks onto a signal, it follows that signal to its source. Then it feeds. How does it feed? Hana asked quietly. The Admiral's expression darkened. We don't know exactly. Our best theory is that it consumes the electromagnetic energy of living minds. It surrounds a planet or ship, and within hours, everything inside is dead. No physical damage. No obvious cause. Just silence. The council officers looked sick. Daewon understood why. The listener was every spacefaring civilization's worst nightmare. An enemy that turned their greatest achievement against them. Communication itself became a death sentence. So Earth's solution is to never transmit anything? One officer asked. To live in permanent darkness? No, Jay said. Our solution is to transmit intelligently. Look, the listener is fast, but it is not instantaneous. It takes time to move between stars. If we use short encrypted bursts of communication and constantly change frequencies, we can coordinate without giving it a clear target to lock onto. She brought up a new display showing communication patterns. It's like the difference between a constant beacon and a firefly. The beacon says, "Here I am, come and get me." The firefly blinks briefly and moves before anything can track it. The council broadcasts like beacons. We will teach you to communicate like fireflies. Admiral Kyung-suk gestured to the fleet outside. This is what 300 years of preparation looks like. 10,000 ships, weapons that can force a dimensional predator into our reality. Tactics developed over generations. We are ready for this fight. The question is whether the council will fight alongside us or against us. Against you? Daewon asked. Why would we fight you? Because we are asking you to change everything about how your civilization functions, the Admiral said. We are asking you to trust a species you thought was dead. We are asking you to accept that you are not the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. Pride can be more dangerous than the listener itself. Hana spoke up. The council has to listen. They have to understand what is coming. Minho put a hand on her shoulder. Some will. Some won't. We have been watching council politics for 3 centuries. We know how your species think. The Velkari value military strength above all else. They will see our fleet as a threat. The Thanari trust only in science they can verify themselves. They will doubt our data. The Xalan are deeply traditional. They will resist change, so what do we do? Hana asked. Admiral Kyung-suk looked out at her fleet. We prepare for 2 wars. The one against the listener, and the one to convince the council we are allies, not enemies. Both will determine whether the galaxy survives the next year. Jay pulled up final schematics. We are ready to share everything. Our stealth technology, our weapons, our communication protocols, but we need the council to implement them across hundreds of worlds in a matter of months. That requires trust and cooperation on a scale the galaxy has never seen. Daewon thought about the council chambers, where 12 species argued over trade routes and border disputes. The idea of them uniting against a threat they could not see seemed impossible. But then again, Earth's survival had seemed impossible too. When do you plan to contact the council officially? He asked. 72 hours, Admiral Kyung-suk said. We will broadcast on all frequencies simultaneously. The entire galaxy will hear Earth's voice for the first time in 300 years. Part 5. The Shift. The listener arrived at the edge of council space like a storm made of darkness. Fleet Admiral Kyung-suk watched from her command ship as sensors registered its approach. The readings made no sense to conventional physics. Mass that shifted between dimensions, energy signatures that appeared and disappeared. A presence so vast that it bent space-time around itself. All ships, this is the Admiral. Execute silent running protocols. Phase shift in 30 seconds. Her voice was calm despite the magnitude of what they were facing. This was the moment 300 years of preparation had led to. Success or extinction. There would be no middle ground. Across council space, panic had taken hold. The loss of the frontier colony had convinced the skeptics, but convincing and preparing were different things. Billions of people were trying to shut down communication networks that had run continuously for centuries. It was like asking them to stop breathing. The Velkari Defense Fleet moved to intercept the listener with conventional weapons. Captain Daewon watched from the horizon's edge as 200 warships opened fire. Plasma cannons, kinetic missiles, energy beams that could cut through planets. All of it passed through the listener as if it were not there. Because in that moment it was not there. It existed slightly outside their reality, hunting for the signals it could sense but they could not hide. This is madness, one of Daewon's officers whispered. How do you fight something you cannot touch? You learn from those who have been preparing, Daewon replied. He opened a channel to the hidden fleet. Earth forces, the Council fleet requests permission to join your formation. Admiral Kyung-suk's response was immediate. Permission granted. Welcome to the war, Captain. Now watch and learn. The Earth fleet emerged from its cloaking field like ghosts becoming solid. 10,000 ships appeared where sensors had shown empty space moments before. They moved in perfect coordination, surrounding the listener in a sphere formation that kept constant distance from the entity at the center. All Council ships. This is Earth Defense Command, Commander Borah transmitted. Cut all non-essential transmissions now. Use only the encrypted burst frequencies we provided. The listener hunts by following electromagnetic signals. Every broadcast you make helps it find you. The Council ships scrambled to comply, but it was already too late for some. The listener had locked onto the Velkari fleet's communication network. It surged toward them, moving faster than anything that size should be able to move. Ships disappeared into the darkness surrounding it. Their crews died without ever seeing what killed them. Earth fleet, commence attack pattern Delta, Admiral Kyung-suk ordered. Fire on my mark. Engineer Jay's dimensional disruptors activated across the fleet. Space itself seemed to tear as the weapons created localized collapses in the barriers between realities. For the first time, the listener became fully solid, forced into normal space by the quantum field surrounding it. Mark! 10,000 ships fired simultaneously. The weapons were not like anything the Council used. They did not just damage matter. They disrupted the fundamental nature of space-time itself. Where they hit, the listener's form rippled and distorted. It was being hurt. It could be hurt, but it was also learning. The listener adapted quickly, shifting its dimensional frequency to avoid the worst of the attacks. It lashed out with tendrils of darkness that could cross light years in seconds. 3 Earth ships vanished before they could phase shift. Another 5 were damaged. Maintain distance, Kyung-suk commanded. Deploy lighthouse protocol. Across the battlefield, designated ships began broadcasting carefully crafted signals. Patterns that mimicked civilized transmissions but originated from empty space or moving targets. The listener could not resist. It was drawn to the signals, hunting for prey that was not there while the Earth fleet repositioned. Dr. Hana coordinated the council ships that had agreed to follow Earth's tactics. You need to move like we do. Short burns. Change vectors constantly. Never broadcast from the same position twice. Treat communication like ammunition. Use it sparingly and precisely. Some council captains understood and adapted quickly. Others, trained in conventional warfare, struggled to break old habits. Those who could not learn died quickly. The listener was an efficient predator. It did not give second chances. Minho led a squadron of fast attack ships darting in and out of the listener's reach. His mission was to map its boundaries, to understand how far it could extend its feeding tendrils. It is bigger than we thought, he reported. Radius extends 300,000 kilometers when actively hunting. Pull back to safe distance, Admiral Kyung-suk ordered. She studied the tactical display, analyzing the listener's behavior patterns. It was adapting faster than their simulations predicted. They needed a new strategy. Young, monitoring everything from Earth, opened a channel to the Admiral. Deploy the silence generators now. Kyung-suk understood immediately. Throughout the fleet, specialized ships activated devices that Engineer J had designed specifically for this moment. They created expanding bubbles of quantum interference that suppressed all electromagnetic emissions within a defined area. It was like dropping a curtain of absolute darkness over portions of space. The listener thrashed violently when it lost the signals it was tracking. Without prey to hunt, it became disoriented, vulnerable. All ships with dimensional disruptors concentrate fire on Sector 7, Kyung-suk commanded. That is where its central mass is most stable. The coordinated assault was devastating. Hundreds of weapons fired into the same small area, each shot forcing the listener deeper into normal space-time where it could not easily escape. The ancient entity screamed, though not in any way that organic ears could hear. It was a distortion in gravity, a ripple in quantum fields, a wrongness that every sensor registered simultaneously. But while Earth's fleet fought the listener, the rest of Council space was descending into chaos. Worlds that had not implemented Earth's protocols continued broadcasting normally, drawing the listener's attention like beacons in darkness. 3 more colonies went silent. Panic spread faster than any military response could contain. Premier Su-jin made a difficult decision. Commander Bora, initiate total blackout protocol. Bora's face went pale. Premier, that means cutting all communication across Council space. Everything. They will think it is an attack. Better they think we attacked than watch them die broadcasting their positions to the listener, Su-jin replied. Do it. Earth's cyber warfare teams, hidden deep in the network infrastructure they had been monitoring for centuries, executed a coordinated shutdown of Council communication networks. Across hundreds of worlds, transmissions simply stopped. It was not elegant. It was not gentle. But it saved billions of lives. In the sudden silence, the listener faltered. Without the constant stream of signals to track, it lost the ability to hunt efficiently. The Earth fleet pressed the advantage, driving it back with sustained fire from dimensional disruptors. On the horizon's edge, Captain Daewon watched in awe and horror as humanity demonstrated what 300 years of focused preparation could accomplish. They are winning. They are actually hurting it. Not winning, Hana corrected quietly. Surviving. There is a difference, she was right. The listener, though wounded, was not defeated. It began to withdraw, pulling back toward the edges of explored space. Admiral Kyung-suk faced a choice. Pursue and risk losing ships to a desperate enemy or let it escape to hunt another day. All ships cease fire, she ordered. Let it go. Some council officers protested. Ambassador Taemin demanded to know why they were not finishing the fight. But Kyung-suk was firm. Because we heard it enough to drive it away. That is the victory we needed. The listener now knows that this galaxy can fight back. It will think twice before returning. As the listener disappeared into deep space, leaving a trail of gravitational distortions in its wake, The battlefield fell quiet. Earth's fleet had lost 97 ships. The Council had lost hundreds. But they had survived. They had fought something that had destroyed entire civilizations, and they had driven it away. The real work began immediately. Commander Bora coordinated the restoration of communication networks, but under new protocols. Short bursts, encrypted channels, rotating frequencies. The galaxy would never broadcast freely again. Dr. Sung Ho led teams to every willing Council world, teaching them Earth's technology and tactics. Engineer Jay became the most sought-after consultant in the galaxy, designing defense systems for species who had declared her world dead just months before. In the Council chambers, Premier Su Jin was offered the position of Supreme Military Commander, with authority over all defensive forces. She declined. No single species should hold that much power. We survived because we worked together. That lesson must not be forgotten. Instead, the Council created the Silent Watch, a rotating command structure where different species led coordinated defense for set periods. Earth would serve first, not as conquerors but as teachers. Hana stood on Earth's surface 1 year after the battle, watching children play in parks her ancestors had died protecting. Minho joined her, carrying news from the frontier. 3 more Council species just signed the cooperation treaty. The Thanari finally admitted that human technology saved them.